Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. Today, we'll get, learn a bit more about Samsung Health SDK Suite. I'm Praveen Timoshetty, leading strategy and roadmap for SDK, and I'm part of a global partnership team. So today, I'm going to focus on Samsung Health SDK Suite, how Samsung is really helping or pushing the boundaries when it comes to, accelerating the innovation in health and wellness, right? So let's get started. So today, we'll obviously learn more about the SDK suite. We'll learn a bit more in detail around what's data SDK, what sensor SDK, and when to use which of these SDKs. Then I'll help you with all the tools so that for you to get started integrating or building an app using these SDKs, how to go about it. Then while building, if you have any questions, how to get the support. And also for doing this work, what are some of the partnership incentive that Samsung can help, right? So we can address that. And any questions we can take in the end as well. So now, right, so to get good context around what Samsung is thinking when it comes to health, right? So Samsung wants to reimagine consumer-centric healthcare of tomorrow, right? So in order to do that, we have to bring devices together, people together, and connect different services together, right? That's our vision, right? So in order to execute this bold vision, obviously, we are leveraging latest and greatest technologies, and also making sure we are building, rolling out features that help people to track their well-being. And using that data, people can ultimately, get real benefit when it comes to their health and different aspect of health as well. So, this Samsung Health app, this is the comprehensive health platform that Samsung offers. It's consumer facing, right? So it aggregates data from your watch, ring, even like fit gym equipment, um, and even third-party health equipment such as like weighing scale or blood glucose monitoring. And it's take a lot of effort to how to bring all this data together and make sure this data is presented in a lot more meaningful way. So as a consumer, you can really digest all this information in a lot more contextual manner so that you can really use these insights in order to provide you more personalization and the relevant insights for the members in a timely fashion. We obviously leverage AI ML in a greater extent, right? So as you can imagine, it provides different health focused data, be it activity, workout, fitness, right? So many of these data points are provided, right? So now we started to think, okay, we have all this rich data. How do we make it available and push the envelope to really expand the ecosystem and engage partners in a lot more meaningful way so that partners can get access to this rich health data and they can build services, even do innovations and build solutions on top of it so that we quickly achieve our vision where we want to have more consumer-centric health. How do we make that happen, right? So that's where the SDK suite comes into play. So this SDK suite, it's a combination of multiple SDKs. So we have, methodically kind of separated these SDKs so that as a partner, you can pick and choose which area you want to focus on, what aspects you want to integrate, what data points you want to gather, right? So you could use the right SDK. So for you to get onboarded, and get integrated, it would be a lot more faster and lightweight as well, right? So the first one, right, Samsung Health Data SDK. Here, it helps you to get access to most of those data that you saw as a part of the Samsung Health app that we provide, right? Then there is a Samsung Health Sensor SDK. So all the raw data that you are seeing on a Galaxy Watch, if we want to get access to that raw data and some of those process data on the watch, that's when you use, Sensor SDK. Then we also have, Research Stack. So essentially, it's a open source. It provides end-to-end solution for a research, especially like a medical research purpose. If researchers are focused on, on the data, they don't have too much time on investing, building the app or building the dashboard. So we wanted to make that process so much easier so that you can pick and choose what data you are interested in, and you have the app available, you can deploy for your users. Then also you have the dashboard so that as a researcher, you can get access to that data, right? Then we also made sure how do we engage this health, device manufacturer? How can we make the integration of this health device data available to Samsung Health in a lot more easier way? And we have provided accessory SDK from that angle. For example, weighing scale, when you step on the weighing scale, we get that data directly to Samsung Health, and you can see that. And also some of the blood glucose monitoring devices are integrated with this accessory SDK. And whenever you check your blood glucose, that data becomes available. So it helps us, especially to guide the partners to pick and choose what SDK they are interested in and what they want to do with it, right? So to focus on data SDK, right? So here I want to absolutely be sure, right? So as a partner, you may be wondering, okay, how do I get access to all this Samsung Health data? Then you are looking at data SDK, where you need to have an Android app. You probably already have an Android app that you are providing services. So how, you just have to integrate with the data SDK so you can get access to most of the data that you see in Samsung Health app, right? So I will walk you through in detail how to go about that. So let me touch on the sensor SDK as well, right? So here, how do you sort of obtain data that, we have like amazing sensors on the watch, and we continue to invest a lot more into that sensing portfolio. And every time Galaxy Watch is out in the market, new releases, you start to see, oh, there's a new capability, there's a new sensing, right? So I wish I have access to some of those raw data, and I want to, come up with the biomarker, or I want to, use that for even predictive analytics or some sort of nudges or personalization, right? So that's when, you have to really build a watch app, like a Wear OS app that lives in the watch, right? So to get this data. So now to help you sort of really walk you through what are the steps involved and how to really, go about leveraging data SDK and sensor SDK, I want to take you guys directly to Samsung Developer Portal. That's probably, your best destination to gather most of those information here. So let me share. So, yeah. So here, right, so in the data, in Samsung Developer website, right? So let me make sure. So you go to develop, then under health. So you see, bit more about Samsung Health SDK Suite. There is introduction, how we are really helping to accelerate the innovation. Then, if you want to get into more data SDK, and this is where, you go, there's more overview on it. So here you can really look at what are some of the capabilities. And how Samsung L Data SDK really helping partners' job to be a lot more simpler. And the key benefit is obviously you have a rich health data that's stored safely, right? And the key thing we made sure is you have user-friendly APIs. As a developer, you find that flexibility so that you can filter, you can aggregate, you can read associated data together. So we thought from multiple perspective, how do we make what sort of API needs to be available and what sort of operation needs to be available through that API. It's not just having, okay, here is the read API and go read, right? So how do we make that simpler? So we have abundant, different operations supported from a user-friendly API. And from a data privacy point of view, just because you have access to SDK, you have integrated with the SDK, it doesn't mean you can start reading the data. It's user consent protected. So whichever user you want to get data from, you have to really get a user consent on every data type so that you can start going and reading that data. So from a privacy point of view, it's very much protected. And to highlight, right? So this data SDK, it entails like data coming from watch, ring, Galaxy Fit, even gym equipment, and also like health accessories like weighing scale or blood glucose monitoring, right? So you get all this comprehensive data in one place, right? So your partner app, so you will have an Android app in order to integrate this data SDK. So this is, I want to give you a bit more into where to look at the documents. How do I go about, getting the SDK and things like that. So, here again, we highlight, right? So how the productivity is ensured by having, flexible APIs and how we are making sure the data security. And you might be wondering, oh, what are the different data types, what are operations, right? So here it gives you like complete latest list of read data types that we support, right? And then you can also write data back as well to Samsung Health, right? So here are a bunch of data types that we support when it comes to write operations, right? So to really get started, we have programming guide, so you can take a look at it. So it shows you like a high level architecture where the partner app is and how the Samsung Health platform is opening up that API and it's in the Android environment. And you don't have to have like a Samsung Android device. Any Android device you should be able to integrate the SDK and make it work. And this SDK contains, right? So obviously the libraries and some of the tools. So I will touch on, what are those tools that are available, right? So especially, right? So here, when it comes to user permission, right? So I want to give you like, what is that user would look at, especially when you use the user permission API. User would get the screen, and for each data type, for example, step count or, and it will bring up the screen and user has to kind of give the permission for you, your app to start reading their specific data, right? So again, right, so here, this is a comprehensive list of all the data types and each data types, what operations are allowed on those specific data types, right? So you can read anything changed from the last read, right? You can insert, you can update or delete. So when it comes to delete, anything that you have added, only that data can be deleted, right? So, and that gives you a good idea. Then I want to talk about, if you have to integrate, right? So right from the beginning, right, it gives you the steps how to import the SDK library, right? So we have the code for that. Then, here is like permission request. What is the code involved for you to, send those user permission requests? And here we are mindful about making that code, that you can directly copy from the website and you can paste it to your IDE. So we made sure it's not an image so that, it's flexible for you guys to directly copy the code as well, right? So, and there is a code example for each of data types, whether it's a read operation, associated data read, insert, all of this, right? And I want to touch on this data viewer. Now, let's say you read a bunch of data from Samsung Health app. Now, how do you view that data, right? So that's where, we are providing this data viewer that you can install. It helps you to pull together that data so that you can, view those individual data, right? So how it looks like. It helps with the development process. I'm sure, you will appreciate having this data viewer. And then I want to touch on the samples, right? So we also provide like a sample app that helps you to, how to go about different steps. How do I, complete or build a, entire app? So you can refer to this particular sample app and that can help you guide, right? So this is more about, how to go dealing with like data SDK. So if I have to switch to sensor SDK, where you're focused on building a watch app that's a Wear OS app, right? So here, I can take you to documentation about Sensor SDK, and that's where you can take a look at it, right? So how is that architecture looks like? Your app will be sitting on the phone, and when it comes to obviously hey, how is the battery life? How you guys are creating the architecture to help with battery. So we have like an application processor that helps you with continuous data reading. So we also made sure it's data transfers in batches. So we don't wake up the CPU just for the purpose of data transfer as well, right? So that way we are optimizing the battery. So it gives you that flexibility, how much you can, collect continuous data. Then, you can obviously gather raw sensor data and, your immediate question would be, okay, what are those data types that are available from the watch that I can get, right? So if you look at this list, then you're like, okay, I want a bit more information about, what's the accelerometer, what's the sampling rate if I have to read continuous, right? So is the PPG, I want to read continuous, or maybe I just want on demand, right? So that's where this data specification where you can go. It gives you a bit more granular information around it. So you can see what data types are supported, what are the sampling rates that are supported for each of those data types, like continuous readings. Then for the on-demand as well, right? What data types are supported in the on-demand mode, right? So again, we have, right, so app model that helps you with how to go about, setting up and leveraging this sensor SDK in your Wear OS app. And how do you request user permission when it comes to, right? So the codes are provided. Similar examples are here as data SDK, we also have a sample apps, right? So for example, you are interested in ECG, especially reading, continuous data, ECG data. Then we have like a sample app that you can refer how to go about, really building that Wear OS app, right? So now, if you have any questions around, you can always check the FAQs. We have, many questions around both for sensor SDK as well as data SDK covered here. No, if you have any questions, I want you to take away, right, at this point, what is like, data SDK, when I can use that, and what sensor SDK and when I can use that, right? So I want to make sure you guys have that good understanding. And we can have like one or two questions if there is any question around that.
Praveen?
Mm-hmm.
Not sure you can see my hand raised. This is Rob with Envoy at Home. May I ask a question?
Yeah, sure. Go for it. Yeah.
On the data SDK, or I should say through the development portal, is there a facility where if an individual who's wearing a watch perhaps can share data with a third party, or is that sort of addressed through the developers portal, that sort of mechanism? So, for example, if we want to get information about heart rate or perhaps a fall or something that's coming off of a Samsung device, bring it into our system for additional analytics.
Yeah. And that's exactly what's covered in the developer portal, right? So how can you get the data, and how you can move that data to your environment? Then
okay, so it's not just inbound. Okay, so it's bi-directional.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And are you going to be addressing one of the screens? I think you showed an SDK for accessory services. I think if that might have been, is that something you're going to be covering in a moment? Or if I have a question about that, should I ask now?
Yeah, that, for this webinar, I kind of restricted to data and sensor SDK to cover in detail.
Okay.
But if you have any questions around, accessory SDK, we can take it at the end. Yeah.
Oh, sure. Very good. Yeah. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Praveen, let me just jump in real quickly. I'm just looking over the chat. I see that Mary has asked in the chat, is this piece you are currently projecting? So Mary, I'm not sure if you're just referring to the entire presentation or if there was a slide that Praveen was on at that time. Mm-hmm. She was asking if this is something that can be shared for deeper reading. Mary, we have a version of this deck that's our introduction to partnerships that we can share with you. I'll put my email in our chat here. And so, anybody in this webinar, you can reach out to me. I'm happy to send over a PDF version of the presentation that Praveen is sharing. It does not include when Praveen is going into our Samsung Developer Portal website pages. You'll have to go in and explore those pages yourself. But I will put my email in chat. You guys can reach out, and I'm happy to share this deck with you. All right, I'll turn it back over to you, Praveen.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. Again, right, so I wanted to touch on, who are, some of the partners, how they have successfully leveraged, this data SDK or sensor SDK, what they have been able to accomplish. And this is one of the, case study I wanted to showcase, right? MyHealth, it's a conversational AI wellness platform, right? So they have been able to use, sensor SDK to gather user data from the watch, and that integrate that data with their own platform. That's a MyHealth platform. And they are using that data to really inform the user in a lot more personalized way, build the care plan accordingly as well. And this is, something specifically targeted for, senior care. And they have been, super happy how, Galaxy Watch made it easier to really extend and expand their service in a lot more meaningful way, so that they can nudge the member, they can provide any insights and get their attention to some of the content they want their users to focus on, so that they can deliver their service in a lot more meaningful way as well. So then there's another case study I wanted to kind of highlight, so that you guys can get a good idea about, oh, okay, so who are some of the partners and how you could potentially explore using these SDKs, right? So Somnology, again, it's a sleep lab where, board certified sleep experts actually review your sleeping data and come up with, what's the care plan and, what should be the next step on that. So essentially, users have to go to the sleep lab to generate some of those sleep data for the board certified sleep experts to review the pattern. Now that Galaxy Watch, provides the sleep data, and these people don't have to, go to the sleep clinic and spend a whole night there. So rather, they can get the data directly from users from their home, right? So this is, some of the use cases that people are using when it comes to, leveraging this comprehensive data that's available as well. So moving on, right? So this is where, I want to make sure for you to really get started. Now you are aware of there's a Samsung developer portal. There's more details about data SDK, health SDK. So how do I really go and download? What do I need for that? This is where, you need to have a Samsung account. Once you have an account here, right? So we have recently launched a business developer account. Essentially, what it means is, you can have multiple people, the visibility for the interaction between Samsung and your team, right? So otherwise, you just have one Samsung account. You may have to share the same Samsung account with the rest of your team members, so that they are looking at the same application or any tickets that you guys have submitted to look at their status. The business developer account helps you to add members, so that each members have their own login and they can still have the same visibility to all the applications. In fact, like all the interaction between your team and the Samsung team, right? So I highly recommend you create developer business account when you go in. So I'll show you on the website how do you actually go about really downloading the SDK, right? So if I index back to the developer portal, so here, right? So if I go back to data SDK, and if I look at the documentation, and here process, right? So it helps you, okay, what's the process for me? Now I'm interested in data SDK, right? So you can, straight away download the SDK. Here, all you need to do is have an account. So for you to create an account, all we need is your name, email, mobile, and the company information. Nothing more than that. And you don't need any additional approval for you to download the SDK. You can, as long as you create the account, you can just go download the SDK. And then, you have to enable developer mode to start integrating with, this SDK to your app. Or, if you want to build a brand new app, even in that case, you have to use the developer mode. Now, you are at a stage where you have validated, now you are good, now you want to release that app, right? So for you to get out of the developer mode, right? So for that, you need to get approval. So here we call it as a partnership request, but essentially you are requesting an approval to release the app, right? So, and there is a caveat here, like especially if you are just reading from the SDK, you don't have to request for an approval till you get to the release stage. But if you want to perform a write operations to the Samsung Health, then we want to make sure you are approved to write data back to Samsung Health. So before you even release, probably you have to get the approval if you have to write data back to the Samsung Health, right? So this is the process to download SDK and start integrating. And in terms of releasing, what's the approval you need to get, right? So it's not to get confused with just to download SDK. You don't need any approval. You can just go download and start working on it. Right? And same thing applies to, again, sensor SDK. You can go here. And we have a process for sensor SDK, and you can refer to that as well. Right? So there is a process here, and you can go about. Right? So downloading the SDK, pretty similar use case where you just need to have an account. And when you're ready to distribute your app, that's when you request for approval. Okay, so now when you're doing this, I also want to make sure I cover support a bit more. So we have, in a way, omni-channel support, I would say, right? So you can get to the support channel. So we have like a community where you can post questions, but most likely people have already asked questions. So you can refer to some of those questions already that's been requested or discussed. So all you have to do is you just go for community and search for health. Then you will get all the health related topics here, right? And you can probably refer to any existing a topic that you're interested and what was the resolution. You can look at that. And if you have like a more specific question that you don't find answers there, then maybe you have to go for one-on-one support where you can submit a ticket, right? So here, so you can go to the dashboard. And it's asking me to log in because I really want to pose a question here. Maybe I can quickly log in. So end of the day, we want to make sure you can get answers when you're looking for, when you're in the development mode or integration mode or testing mode, so then, okay, there we go. So you can also look at, if you have already submitted any tickets, you can view that here. If you are approved for, any of those SDKs, you can view that as well here, right? And go here, get one-on-one, request here. That's when I go here, get support when I need, when I have a specific questions. You can choose the category, health, and you can select, what SDK you're using. If you're using sensor SDK, you can choose that. And, you are building a Wear OS app, and, you can select that and you can move on. Then this is where, you can create what's the issue and provide more details. And in the development, guide, we also provide details, information about how to generate, logs. So that logs will help our team to, get to the issue faster. So I would highly recommend whenever you're raising issue, if there is a, logging makes sense, please make sure you have a log and attach that log here, and you can just create, request here. And you can track in your dashboard as well, like what's the current status, right? So this is where your dashboard is. So where you'll see all the interactions here if you have submitted. So that's how, you get more support from that angle. So let me quickly touch on, where we are, right? So here, so that's the support. Yeah, so in the beginning, I mentioned during the agenda, right? Partnership incentive. Maybe that's kind of sparked your interest. Oh, what are those incentives, right? So sometimes Samsung can choose some of these, partners who have successfully integrated, any of these SDKs and build a service on top of it. And we could probably choose you to, showcase in a conference or, any of these possibilities. Whenever, at that point of time, if there is an option available, we'll try to make sure we showcase the logos at a sponsored events. So this is examples from the past events, and where you can see the, logo wall, like partner logo wall. And sometimes even we go to an extent of making the case study available, so other potential partners can actually look at it. And these are not guaranteed that every partner will get this. It depends on the availability, and obviously, you have to be selected by Samsung based on a certain criteria as well. But as we clearly outline, we are going to make our best effort to make sure your integration effort and what you have built will get some sort of highlight as well. So, and that's where how we come to an end of this webinar, where we clearly looked at Samsung vision and how we are going about creating this comprehensive platform that Samsung Health, and that's helping people to track their well-being. Then how we are pushing the envelope to bring partners, expanding the ecosystem, and that's where we have like a Samsung Health SDK suite. And how are we making it easier for partners to pick and choose where they want to play or what SDK they want to integrate. And then, different guides and sample codes, sample app on each of those SDKs, how to go about integration and how to get the support, some of the successful case studies that you guys saw, right? So I believe this should give you a good understanding to really, get started with the Samsung Health SDKs. So at this point, we can take any more questions we may have. And Tony, maybe you want to highlight the follow-up email that we are going to send out.
Yeah. Before I get to that, I do see Rob looks like he's raised his hand. Rob, you have a question?
Oh, yeah. The that accessory SDK and the research SDK, are those available, or are they still in the roadmap?
Yeah, research, it's available. It's an open source. As you could see in the developer portal, you can get access to the research, stack. But also accessory SDK, again, it's available. Yes, so it's available today. If you want to go play with those SDKs, yes, it's available.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yep, and Rob, you can get more information on the accessory SDK as well as the research stack on our developer portal, which on this slide here, you can see the URL at the bottom. You can use that QR code if you want to just jump right to it. Yeah, that's the site that Praveen has been navigating through during today's webinar.
Great. Thank you very much. So helpful, guys.